Hi, welcome to Palo TV. I'm Steve Roitstein. We're looking at a real old school invoice, and we all know that it's not usually done that way anymore. This is an instructional video on how to create an invoice using Microsoft Excel. If you're not a student in my Music Business 3 class, I hope you enjoy the video, and let's get right to it. I'm going to switch over now to the assignment page which the students can access on Blackboard. The first part of this hypothetical situation was creating a bid. The students, you guys have done that already. So we're going to start out with that and go from there. It explains here the continuation of the hypothetical situation. Your music production company has completed the project for which you created a bid in Excel. The client preferred your demo. Your company was awarded the job. The bid was accepted. The music was recorded, and the final music was approved. Now you need to send the advertising agency an invoice so your company can get paid. And a little side note, you will notice a lot of times in these kind of business transactions that once everything gets to the end, they would like to get an invoice as soon as possible. So it's nice to have a template set up that makes that easy for you to submit to them. Then it goes on here. However, during the production phase for the final recording of the music, the client requested that you add 2 musicians. And by the way, this is something that is not unheard of. There's probably a revision process that happens, and they discuss certain things. And as a good vendor, you make your recommendations, and you go with the flow and pretty much try and meet the requests of your good clients like this. The cost of the 2 additional musicians and an additional 3 hours of overdubbed studio time need to be added to the invoice. Your original agreement with the agency was for 4 musicians. The agency producer has agreed to pay for these additional expenses, and that's nice. So we're going to copy the bid sheet, but before I do anything, I am going to take a look at this file which is attached to the sheet, and I have it somewhere. Let me see where I can dig it up here. I think it's here. There it is, and this is what I'm calling the example invoice. You can use this. Obviously, you're going to have all of your information on here, but you can use this as an example. I've got my company name here and my name. Yours is going to have all of your information. I'm starting out with the original bid spreadsheet as it was submitted, and it's finished. So it's got, yours should have, as I said, all of your information here. You've already finished the talent sheet, the studio sheet. You knew the profit or loss. If you were awarded the job, you would make a nice profit. If you didn't get awarded the job, you would have had a slight loss. What I've done already is I've added a sheet, and I'm going to show you step by step how I did this. We're going to start on the bid sheet by clicking here on its tab, and we're going to go to the edit menu, choose sheet, move or copy sheet, select move to end, and call it create a copy. Now I'm going to kind of rename this old invoice, just call it X so it doesn't conflict. You won't have that already. You just had these 4 sheets. Now this bid sheet is a clone of the original bid sheet, and we're going to change the name of it to Invoice. Oops. First thing we need to do, change the name of this sheet visually from music bid and specifications to invoice. If you click here in all these fields on the template that we've created, these all contain text. If you did the bid assignment properly, you replace these with a formula, and we're going to practice that again. This formula is actually a very important tool that you can learn about Excel. And I don't know if it has an official name, but I just call it how to get one cell to display the same display of another cell. Here's how you do it. All formulas start with the equal sign. So here we're on the invoice sheet. Right here, I'm going to type equals. I'm going to navigate back to the bid sheet and click on the cell that I want to display in that same cell on the invoice sheet. And then I hit return. It bounces me back to the invoice sheet. And if you look at it, it doesn't look like anything has changed. However, if you click on that cell and look in the formula bar up here, you'll see that instead of the text that it had that says shout advertising, it now contains the formula that you just put there. And we need to do that for all of these other cells, but we don't have to go through it. We can just copy and paste, and that's what I'm going to do now. Copy and paste all of these. All right, I think that's enough. Now I noticed that I forgot to tell you, because you have been awarded the job, on the bid sheet, instead of having temporary to be determined job number and PO numbers, you actually have numbers now. So now the invoice is referring to those. But I want to make sure that visually this looks nice and consistent. So the job number needs to be aligned to the left, and the PO number also, the purchase order number. Okay, now we need to refer to our example. You can see that under PO number, instead of the title, like we have here, we're seeing an invoice number. So I'm going to change title to invoice number. I don't suggest you start out with number 1 or 100 or some. Make it look like you've had a job before, and hopefully you have. If not, we're just going to fake it a little bit. I put in 217. You can put in some other number if you want. And that needs to be aligned to the left as well, which I'm not seeing right now. Alignment. How cute. All right, great. So that looks good. The next row in this clone is showing union information. We don't need that anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the example and put in there invoice date. Invoice date. And I'm just going to type in there today's date. Unfortunately, Excel is not like Word. It doesn't have a way to insert the date that I know of. So I'm just going to type in December 1, 2020, which happens to be today's date. Now you're seeing the little hashtags there. And that's a nice thing to know that you don't need to panic. Those little pound signs, tic-tac-toe, whatever you want to call it. That's what Excel shows when the contents of a cell is too wide to fit in that column. Keep in mind, oops, I had inadvertently typed in the wrong place, got rid of that. Keep in mind that this, just like the bid sheet, would be delivered to your customer, your client, as a PDF, not as an Excel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little trick just to make sure that I'm not exceeding the dimensions of an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And on my Mac keyboard, Command P is for print. And I'm just going to click cancel. And what that does is it automatically shows the dotted lines. And right now I'm safe with that. I'm not exceeding the dotted lines. So what I'm going to try to do here is see, can I make this column B wide enough so that that display date will fit. And I was able to do it. Once again, I'm going to align that to the left. And I'm still within the confines of this sheet of paper. I'm going to save. And if in case you didn't do a save as, you need to do that. Save as first initial last name invoice. I already did that because that's the name of this document. Finally, I'm looking at this example and this other line. We don't need this information about the project anymore. That's already done and getting paid for. So we're going to change lyrics provided by to terms. And in that space, we're going to type due upon receipt. This big old row here, we're just going to delete that. So I selected the entire row 16, edit menu, delete, poof, it's gone. Okay, this thing, I think I'm going to zoom out a little bit here so I can see it easier. We're going to kind of use this but adapt it. So right here where it says creative fee, I'm going to type something more general. They don't need this detailed line item bid anymore because they already approved it. So I'm just going to write something more general here. Original music. For Pink Cola TV 30. And the words per bid. What that means, it's a kind of a short way of saying according to the bid. And the bid was for $10,000. So I'm just going to type in 10000, hit return. And that shows $10,000. Don't worry about this part that's all messed up. That'll get fixed in a minute. What I'm going to do now is select row 20, hold down the shift key to extend the selection, and click on row 24 and delete. Okay. Now instead of courier, I'm going to type 2 additional musicians. And instead of demo fee, I'm going to type additional studio time. All right. We're going to type in a formula here for the 2 additional musicians. Equals. We're going to jump to the talent sheet that we created for the bid. Click on the session fee. This is what you're paying musicians for playing on this project. And type times, which is the asterisk, 2. And you hit return. And it's displaying $600. But if you click on that cell and you look at the formula bar, it shows the formula that I just did to calculate this additional musicians, and I forgot the colon here. Additional studio time. The assignment page says you should charge for 3 hours of overdub. So we're going to do another formula here. Similar kind of a thing. Equals. Let's go now to the studio sheet. And what you're charging for these overdubs and mixing and mastering is an hourly rate of $80. So we're going to click here, and I did already. And then we're going to say times, that's the asterisk, 3. That should be enough time in your estimation to record both musicians and kind of adjust the mix a little bit, whatever you need to do, and do a little bit of mastering if necessary, probably. So great. Hit return. It bounces you back to the invoice and now reflects $240 for that line on. And because the summing formula is still here, you're getting the total. Now we're going to do a little bit more fixing here. We're going to change this total estimated cost because it's not an estimate anymore. Actually, I'm going to take that out. I don't know. It ended up in the wrong place. I'm going to type here, just like the example invoice, total of this invoice. And I'm going to click on that cell and align it to the right this time to match all these other ones. I'm going to take this one like the example, and I'm going to take that out of bold. All right. Now let's see. Can I insert a row? Oops, didn't mean to do that. Undo. I need to select this other row. Insert row. And I'm going to insert another row. In this cell here, I'm going to want to reflect this same number. And like always, rather than retyping something, I would rather have Excel do the work because it's not going to make a mistake. So I'm going to type here equals, click on the total of the invoice, and hit return, and it will repeat that number. And in this cell, I'm going to type from the example invoice amount due. And both of these cells I am now going to make bold. There's a shortcut on my Mac, Command B, and it kind of helps the eye a little bit. Now you might wonder, why do I have 2 lines showing the total? I'm glad you're wondering that. In this case, we did not have anything else, but if you, for instance, if you had something that you were invoicing for that you received a deposit on, you might want to put that in this line, and then the amount due, because you had a deposit, would be less than the total. Or let's say that this was a regular client and you had already invoiced them for something else. So you could put maybe invoice 215. Maybe it was 2 invoices ago, and you would put that amount in there. And this total amount currently due would be that. That would be maybe a nice way of reminding your client that they still owe you money. But in this case, it's a little simpler. Moving on, I need to add some more rows. So insert rows, and I don't know, we'll see how many we need. For now, I think we need at least 3. And I'm going to copy this part. I'm going to skip a row. And over here, I'm going to type bill 2. I'm going to put this in mixed upper and lowercase, just like the example, bill 2. And this is very important that you get this information from your client. If they want something mailed, which is rare, but in case they do, they may, you need that information. They may want you to send the bill to a payroll company, or they may, if they want it mailed, they may not want it sent to their street address. They may have a P.O. box. In this case, we're going to use their P.O. box. Shout advertising P.O. box. I just made up a number. Coral Gables, Florida. And I made up a zip code. Great. I'm saving every once in a while. Next thing I want to do is add some more rows. Insert row a few times. I'm sure there's a more convenient way to do this. I just forgot. And this is please remit to. And this is where you put where you want them to send a check. If there's some electronic way that you want them to submit the payment, you need to give them that information. In this case, I'm going to ask them to send a check to my company's actual street address. And I need to give them the company name. Notice that in kind of like the letterhead look of this invoice, it just says Heavy Mug. That's the name of the company that I use commercially. However, from a banking standpoint, the bank has my actual corporation name. And so the check, the remittance, needs to be made out to that. So I'm going to use that. Heavy Mug Inc. No comma, no period. And then this fake address. 1603 West 47 Street, Hialeah, as they used to say, Hialeah, comma, capital F, capital L, and a fake zip code. Okay, so now they know exactly how to make out the check and where to send it. This is looking pretty good. I'm still, as far as I can tell, I am still within the confines of this 8.5 by 11 sheet. They've got all the information they need to pay you. And this makes me very happy to be able to bill for something. I think we're pretty much done, except for the fact that one little detail. My students, I'm reminding you again, you will submit this entire Excel file by the due date on the calendar. And that way I can look at it and kind of go in here and click here and make sure that you have the right formula. And here, instead of just typing in a number, because I want you to be properly using Excel and setting up a template. You're not going to have this little X. I just did that because I used that to create this example. So you're going to be submitting the entire spreadsheet so that I can grade it. With your client, you would never send the whole spreadsheet. You would create a PDF, and on a Mac, it's really easy. You would just be on this sheet, the invoice sheet, and you would go Command P, print. And this time, instead of printing on a piece of paper, you're going to go to the PDF menu here, save as PDF. It's a real quick way to do it. And you'd call it probably like maybe give it some name for your company. So for your client, you would do that. You would create, I'm not going to do it now, but you would actually create a PDF and they would see something that looks very much like this. Now, for me, when I get to see this, it's actually very helpful because it makes it look exactly like it would look if I attached it to an email and sent it to the client. And every once in a while, I'll find something that looks a little bit funky because it's kind of hard with my eyes to see that without this whole grid here visible. So I like to use this as just an easy way to make sure that it looks good, that it fits on one page. It's got to be one page. But once again, for the assignment, you're submitting the Excel file, not a PDF. So I believe we're done. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope to see you soon. And for now, this is Steve Roitstein saying adios.